Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Pastatime with the Scary-ish Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace. This is Adam Diaz, and
Hello.
Today we have a couple more creepy pastas. I was going to say spooky pastas.
Someone actually in our Discord recommended one that we're going to be reading called Greed, but they referred to it as a spooky pasta. And I was like, it's kind of catchy. So I guess it's catching on.
Cool. I guess you can go first, because we didn't even discuss who was going to go first. So I've assigned the role.
Yeah, so we're going to be reading 4 creepypastas tonight. And again, Pastatime episodes are dedicated to reading the short fictional horror stories on the internet in places like creepypasta.com, SCP Foundation, No Sleep subreddit, and any other place essentially where they post creepy fiction. If you have creepy nonfiction, that's for story time. And we'll be more than happy to hear that. So strap in, we're going to do 4, and I'm going to go first. So I'm going to start with a story that is called Greed. This one was suggested to us by a spooky friend in our Discord. If you ever want to join our Discord, you can just go to our website, scarish.com. There's a ticker that runs by on the top, and it says join us on Discord. Go to that link, and you can find your way to our Discord. So thank you so much for submitting this, and or not submitting this, but suggesting it. And again, it's called Greed, and it starts out like this. Right now, there is a thin man in a skin-tight black suit sitting in your closet. Don't threaten me with a good time. His bony...
What the fuck?
His bony knees...
What the fuck?
His bony knees bent to his chest, his spidery white fingers wrapped around his ankles.
He's ready for a good time.
It sounds like it. This sounds like American Horror Story, really. He sits there and has been sitting there since you began reading this. It's funny because I'm right next to a closet, but there's no doors in it. And I don't see him, so he must also be tiny. His name is Greed. Can you hear his breathing yet? Now that you are aware of his existence, if you open your closet door, you will see him sitting there. Immediately, his expressionless face will smile, and his sharp green eyes will lock onto yours.
He's like, I'm ready.
You may open and close the closet as much as you wish, and you may leave him there for as long as you like, but he will never go away. And every time you look inside your closet, he will still be there, his glassy eyes following yours.
I'd be okay with that.
Really? You'd be okay with someone just squatting inside your closet?
He's not attacking me. He's just sitting
I would be
there.
like, look, I understand you're a supernatural entity, but my closet has very limited space, and you're taking up a lot. So I hang most of my stuff.
I would totally start putting stuff on them.
Yeah, 100%. Like, hey, while you're sitting there, hold your arms out, and then I would just start putting, like, folded pants into his arms. Like, thanks. See you tomorrow. All right. Only you will see him. Don't attempt to tell anyone else. They will only question your sanity. If you ignore Greed, gradually he will take over your existence. When you look in the mirror, you will see him standing behind you, smiling his eerie smile.
Nah. He's supposed to be in the closet.
Yeah, I was told he'd be in the closet. You will see him sitting in the back of your car as you drive home late from work. As you turn the lights off downstairs and you run up the steps to safety of your bedroom, he will be running behind you. Even if you do not turn to look, you will hear a second pair of footsteps. There is only one way to rid yourself of Greed. At exactly midnight of any night of the year apart from Christmas Eve, because I guess Santa's too powerful. You don't want Greed fighting Santa, he'll get his ass beat. Sit in front of your closet with a razor in your left hand. You must be alone, the lights must be off, and you must place a lit tea candle in between you and the closet door.
Okay.
Without opening the door, repeat this verse. In return for my sanity, I give you my soul. I don't like reading this because I feel like I'm pledging this.
Well, just say, like, is it once or twice? Or 3 times, my lady?
It just says repeat, okay? And I'm also going to put out this disclaimer. I'm not saying this, I'm just reading this. No one gets my soul. In return for my sanity, I give you my soul. Use it as you wish, but please leave me alone. The closet door will swing open, revealing Greed, whose eyes are already glaring you in the face. He will hold out his long, bony hand. Hold your right hand over it, and with your left, make a clean cut across your wrist and let blood fill his hand. Ugh.
Gross.
Once it is full, he will retreat it and place your gift in his top right coat pocket. Gross.
Retreat it?
I think he means like pull his arm back and then just put his hand in his pocket like, thanks for the blood.
The correct word for that is retract it.
Then he will stand up and walk out of your house, the doors opening themselves for him. He will never return. From that moment on, your life will be perfect. You will effortlessly become rich beyond belief, and you will find and marry the love of your life and achieve anything your heart desires. You will never become sick, and you will die warm and comfortable in your bed surrounded by those you love.
It's the afterlife that is awful, isn't it?
But once your eyes have finally closed and your lungs stop breathing, you will meet Greed again. He will take you to visit your loved ones, who you have left behind, and you will watch helplessly as he plays his game. He will take the sharpest knife from their kitchen and hide in their closet. The next time they open it, he will slaughter and devour them.
What the fuck?
He will repeat this little ritual until everyone you've ever loved is lying dead in a puddle of their own blood.
Not worth it.
After he has finally finished this twisted game, he will take your soul from his top right coat pocket and swallow it. You will become a part of him and be a part of his game forevermore. However, if you take the option to ignore him, he will never leave, and every once in a while, if you turn over in the direction of your partner in bed, instead of seeing their beautiful face, your eyes will meet his, and that evil grin will be stretched over his rows of sharp teeth.
Luckily for me, I never look at Adam.
Yeah, luckily for her, I already have rows of sharp teeth like a shark, so it won't be much different. But either way, that one's really creepy. Thank you so much for submitting that one. Pretty good.
Okay, so this next story was bequeathed unto me by Adam because there's a lot of dialogue in it. And you know me, guys, I love my dialogue.
She's good at the voices, and I just really didn't want to do any.
And yeah, the title of this story is Scarecrows, and it's written by Ramses the Pigeon, which is a solid name, IMO, but you know. All right, so the story begins. Sunset had fallen on the countryside, and the warmth of the day was fading with each passing moment. Vespers of an autumn breeze whispered through the fields, setting the amber stalks of corn into a somber dance.
It feels like the opening of a writing assignment where they're like, try and evoke all the senses in your first paragraph.
Yet with each swaying step, two interlopers were revealed, standing stark and defiant against the motion of their surroundings. In seeing their still forms, one might almost believe that they never breathed, nor blinked. Such was certainly the common belief, perhaps shared even by the figures themselves, which made it all the more surprising when one of them spoke. "My arms hurt, Frank." The second figure remained motionless, though a flicker of expression may have crossed its face. "Frank, my arms hurt." "Damn it, Jed." With a shuffling of cloth and straw, Frank turned to face his partner. "When they sent you out here, they said you was the best choice. You said you knew the rules. Now shut up before someone hears you." Silence returned to the field, broken only by the rustling of currents through the corn. Even a nearby stream, which burbled happily in the hours of daylight, seemed to have hushed itself in preparation for the dusk. This night was an important one, and its task was all but sacred. "Oh, who's gonna hear us, Frank?" "It's not the point. What matters is if someone did. We ain't supposed to talk." Jed considered this, though the contents of his head were hardly suited to higher reasoning. "Well, so what? It's a stupid job anyway. Ain't nobody passed yet that hasn't laughed at us." Frank sighed, removed his hat, and scratched his leathery skin. "Look, Jed, that may very well be. Fact is, it don't matter one bit. It's gotta be done, you understand me?" "No." I was like, wait, did he understand him? Because the next sentence didn't make sense.
I thought the story ended, like he answered with no, and that was that.
Good. What the hell you mean no? That's why I was like, wait, what the hell does he mean no? Ain't no one ever told you the story? The straw around Jed's neck made a rasping noise as he shook his head. "Folks keep saying I'll learn it when I have the need. I've been starting to think they don't know it themselves." "Oh, they know it all right." Frank cleared his throat and made a spitting motion at the ground, though his lips remained dry. "They know it, sure as they know their own mamas." "Just that. Well, it ain't exactly pleasant talk." He sighed again, as much from the frustration of having to speak as from the thought of his next words. "See, there was a time, some many years ago, when the fields were beset by a plague. Not a plague of illness, mind. No, this plague came as winged beasts from the sky. Black as night they were, with voices like something from a nightmare." That's Adam when he talks.
Yep, that's exactly how I sound.
"Crows," whispered Jed. Wait, that's not a whisper. Crows, whispered Jed. His eyes scanned what little of the horizon he could see beyond the cornfield. I've heard tell of them, figured they were a children's tale. Frank shifted his weight, adjusting the rigid stick on which he rested his arms. That may be, but there's truth in the stories. Crows are real enough even if one scarcely hears of them in anything but legend these days. Back when their terror was at hand, they descend on the fields and eat their fill, leaving precious little for the folk who told the seed. It brought a hardship on the land, leaving everyone desperate. My arms still hurt, Frank. Frank rolled his eyes. We're talking, ain't we? Have a rest. Hell, sit down for all it matters now. Thanks, Frank. Jed dropped from his post and crumpled to the ground, suddenly looking very much like a lifeless pile of rags. So what happened? Though he opened his mouth to speak, Frank hesitated. On any other night, the words were just a story, but on this night, they might be something more. You keep a listen for anything amiss, all right? Jed nodded, and Frank resumed his tale. It was a dark time, to be sure, dark enough that some reckon they might employ a darkness of their own. He closed his eyes and recited the secret verse known only to those who stood watch in the field. I feel like this has to be sing-songy or something.
I mean, it's reciting a verse, so.
Gathered they the walls of green, left to dry by day, shaped into a sentinel, in clothing was the hay, set upon tormented fields against the demon's caw, given life by darkness, the men of naught but straw, gave to them the hollow charge upon the darkest night, paid the price for vigilance when absent was the light. Gathered they one of the young for empty demon's craw, taken by the darkness, the men of naught but straw. Straw men, whispered Jed. Straw men? Like us, Frank? He's so cute, I can't. Frank's expression grew colder as he shook his head. Don't you be thinking that way. The straw men were something other than living, Jed. Scared the crows away, they did, but at a terrible cost. They were dead inside, see? Stayed where they were meant to, like statues, save for one night a year when they'd come alive and have a reapin'. Only it weren't corn they took away, but a child. One child left outside past sunset. Children are outside past sunset all the time, Frank.
That's so funny.
Not on this night, Frank hissed. He lowered his voice even further. On this night, the children wear masks. The straw men can't see those who hide their eyes, not unless they look at the straw men first. Jed fell silent, chastised. The sky had darkened considerably, with only the most tenacious rays of the dying light still piercing the walls of corn. Somewhere in the distance, a woman's voice called out for her son. Hey, Frank? What? I still don't get it, Frank. Frank sighed yet again. Don't get what? Why we're out here. Why we gotta stand here like this. Why folks laugh at us. I mean, we're straw men, right, Frank? In response, Frank launched a kick at his companion's leg. Ow! What'd you go and do that for? If I was a straw man, Frank said, do you reckon that would have hurt? You're flesh and blood, Jed, so how can you be a straw man? Well, I mean, it's pretend, ain't it? I fill my clothes with straw and play make-believe, right? Frank tapped a gloved hand against the side of his hat. Up here, it might be pretend, but here, he thumped his fist against his chest, making his stuffed shirt crackle. It's all real. That's what matters, Jed. He swung his arm wide, gesturing to the fields around them. You want to know why we're out here? It's so that fear don't come back. Even one child being taken keeps that terror festering, keeps folks mourning. Might as well have the crows back. But if someone goes to stand watch, then the straw men don't come walking. They can all rest easy. They can laugh at their fear, get on with their lives. Now, do you get it? I get it, Frank, Jed hurriedly replied. I'm here to stand watch, I get it. Good. Now get back up on your post. We got a long night ahead. Jed retook his position, and Frank readjusted his own. The wind had died with the sunlight, leaving the cornfields completely still. Hey, Frank. Shut up. Sorry. Jed closed his mouth. Only, what happens to them, Frank? To the children? What children? You know, pushed Jed. the children that they take away. Frank turned to regard his companion. The poor boy was hardly out of his youth, with only the barest hint of stubble on his chin. Even in the darkness, an earnest innocence twinkled in his eyes. "You sure you want to know, Jed?" Jed turned to meet Frank's gaze. "Yeah, Frank, I'm sure." As he had done before, Frank reached up to remove his hat. Only this time, his entire head came away, leaving a rigid cluster of yellow stemming from his shirt. "They become straw men, Jed. They become straw men."
Aw, that's sad.
That's so sad. So they're the kids that get taken away and get turned into scarecrows.
I think these guys are scarecrows, but the kids that get taken away get turned into the demon, like, straw men, because those are different, right? Like, the straw men he talks about in his story are the ones that, like, demanded a kid. Yeah, I get that. I'm saying these guys are just scarecrows. They're sentient scarecrows that, for whatever fucking reason, can talk. But, like, when he takes his head off, he's showing, like, you know, he's not real, but he's showing the straw that's inside them. And he's referencing, like, straw men, which are, like, the evil demon types that, like, demand a kid and sacrifice. I don't know. Either way, it's weird and creepy, and I like it.
I like it. It's cute and hilarious and terrifying at the same time.
I like the innocent character, too. That plays well, because it's like, okay, cool. Like, he's asking questions, he wants to know stories, so we all get to learn together.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Way to find that awesome story, Robin.
Thanks.
So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move into our third story of the show. And this one's name is Persecution. I will say it's kind of not what you think. It has a twist ending, as a lot of creepypastas do. So it goes like this. Johnny ran as fast as was physically possible. He avoided trees and jumped over rocks and fallen branches, moved purely by instinct. In other circumstances, he wouldn't even think that he was capable of such speed and reflexes. But right now, Johnny couldn't allow himself to think about that. Right now, he could not think of anything besides running. Running away from his pursuer. Running to his salvation. When he judged he should be at a safe enough distance, Johnny stopped and swiftly threw himself behind a large bush. He needed to analyze the situation, plan his next move, and above all, he needed to locate his pursuer. Not being able to see the one chasing him was quickly overflowing his mind with desperation, making it harder and harder to think clearly. The other one could be far away, close behind, or even hiding somewhere, waiting to catch Johnny in a trap. He had to make sure that he was safe, at least for the time being, so that he could make the right decision. Hidden behind the bush, Johnny looked for an opening between the leaves and branches from where he could look at the ground before him without exposing himself. He then began the desperate task of trying to find his pursuer. Johnny did everything he could to look in all directions, but there was no sign of the other one. Sweat, caused from both the heat of the run and from the state of nerves that he was in, started to run across his face. His heart was beating faster and faster, to the point that it seemed like it would jump right out of his chest at any moment. He wasn't there. The one chasing him was not there. Panic began to dominate his thoughts. He was hidden somewhere Johnny couldn't see. Waiting for the right moment to make his move, he had him trapped like a cat playing with a mouse, having fun just watching his victim become more and more desperate. Maybe he was, at that exact moment, sneaking from behind him, just about to grab him. Johnny quickly turned, certain that there would be someone right at his back, but there was no one. The silence became maddening, so Johnny decided he would start running again as fast as possible. But just when he was getting up, he saw, through the bush, something moving ahead. There he was, his pursuer, walking with a disturbing calmness. Nevertheless, Johnny felt greatly relieved and was once again capable of thinking rationally. Now he had to decide his next move. Should he remain hidden, hoping that the pursuer didn't see him when he passed nearby? Or would it be best to risk another run, even though the other one seemed to be far less tired than he was? Johnny's body, after all, was still exhausted from the previous run. His legs ached, and he still hadn't fully recovered his breath. Still, he wouldn't let that keep him from running miles and miles if it came to that. He wouldn't give in to exhaustion until he was safe, because if he was caught... But he interrupted that thought immediately. Being caught was not an option. Slowly and calmly, the predator approached. Had he spotted Johnny's hiding place? If that was the case, he was doing a very good act because he was looking in every direction, apparently still searching. It was time to decide, remain hidden or run. Just then, Johnny noticed that the pursuer seemed to be taking another direction. Was it a trick? One way or another, Johnny decided to take that chance and get out of there. He had already planned his route. First, he would leave the protection of the bush and hide behind a large tree that was in an opposite direction to where the pursuer was going. If he succeeded getting there without being seen, he could run in that direction pretty much safely. Johnny took a big breath and waited for the right moment when the pursuer was looking the other way. As soon as the moment came, he jumped from behind the bush and ran towards the large tree as fast and silently as he could. He pressed his back against the trunk of the tree and with extreme caution, turned his head to see if his movement had been noticed. The pursuer didn't appear to have heard or seen anything and was still walking in the other direction. Johnny released his breath, full of relief. He was practically safe now, as it would be very difficult to spot him now.
Is he a rabbit?
That would be so cute. Oh my god. He was practically safe now, as it would be very difficult to spot him. Before going forward, he looked one more time at his previous hiding spot behind the bush. And there, he saw something. Right at the spot where he had spent those desperate moments, something was sparkling with the sunlight. He took a better look and realized what it was. Apparently, at some point in the short time that he was there, his cell phone had slipped from his pocket and fallen to the grass.
He's human. Okay.
I don't know. Some rabbits have cell phones, right? Without hesitation, Johnny considered his cell phone as lost. There was no way he would risk being seen in an attempt of getting it back. It was just a cell phone after all, and a really old one too. The pursuer was quite far now. It was time to make his triumphant escape. He had barely taken his first step when music started to play. Music that, to his horror, Johnny recognized immediately. It was his cell phone's ringtone.
Your foot.
He turned to look again at the place where the phone was, still not able to believe that destiny could be so cruel.
This is why you leave your phone on silent.
Blinking, vibrating, and ringing at maximum volume, as if it were an alarm alerting his escape. He hoped that the other one was too far away to hear, but he knew that was a silly thought. In that silent place, the music seemed impossibly loud, and sure enough, the pursuer had already heard. He turned to look where the music was coming from and immediately spotted Johnny partially hidden behind the tree.
So if his cell phone worked this whole time, he didn't think, like, maybe I should call 911?
I don't know. Why didn't the pursuers just call his phone?
Do they know his phone number?
I don't know. Let's finish reading this and find out. And Johnny, even from far away, was able to see his predator's expression changing from doubt to a mixture of triumph and malice. Then the other one started running towards Johnny, who had become paralyzed. With great effort, Johnny forced his body to start moving again and began a frantic run. Running like he had never run before, Johnny felt a glimpse of hope. He could still be faster than his pursuer, he could still beat him, but his muscles, exhausted from all the exercise, would not let their cries be ignored without a price. A cramp paralyzed his leg, making him trip and fall to the ground. He knew he had to get up quickly, but the confusion and pain, both from the cramp and the fall, would not let him. A few seconds later, a shadow came over Johnny. He didn't need to turn his face to understand what that meant. It was all over. The pursuer had caught up to him. He tried to find some kind of comfort, thinking to himself that he had played his cards well, and, if he had failed, he had only bad luck to blame. Of course, as much as he believed that, it still didn't change the fact that his pursuer was right above him right now. Johnny remained facing the ground. He wouldn't give the other one the pleasure of looking him in the eyes when he did what he was going to do. He felt the other person's hand on his back. "Gotcha! You're it!" yelled the one that until now had been the pursuer.
Damn it.
Just as he started to run away from Johnny. Johnny got up slowly, brushed the dirt off of his clothes, and looked to where the other was running. The pain was almost gone now. It was time for revenge.
Wow.
That one was written by Daniel Moises. And I really liked this one because when I was trying to find stories today, I kept finding stories that were like super serious and super brutal. And so when I started reading this one, I got to like the midway point and I realized like it sounds like this kid's playing tag or like hide and seek or something like that. So when I skipped to the end, I was like, yeah, I like it. I approve. So I enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked the twist at the end.
Okay, so final story of the episode. Title is A Story to Scare My Son. It goes like this. Oh, also, it's on the No Sleep Reddit. If you folks have never heard of that before, it's the No Sleep subreddit. This one is written by Oven Friend, which is also a cute name.
Right on.
And it begins... there's dialogue in this one, too. I don't know, what's a dad voice? Son, we need to have a chat about internet safety. I slowly crumpled down onto the floor next to him. His laptop was open and he was playing Minecraft on a public server. His eyes were locked into the action. Comments scrolled down the side of the screen in a chat box. Son, can you stop your game for a minute? He exited the world, closed the laptop, and looked up at me. Dad, is this gonna be another cheesy, scary story? What? I faked hurt feelings for a second and then grinned at him. I thought you liked my cautionary tales. He grew up listening to my stories about children who encountered witches, ghosts, werewolves, and trolls. Like many generations of parents, I used scary stories to reinforce morals and teach lessons about safety. Single dads like me should use all the parenting tools at their disposal. He scrunched his face a little. I'm not going to use that high-pitched kid voice. It's dumb. He's old enough to play Minecraft.
I mean, kids that play Minecraft are pretty young, just saying.
Yeah, but they don't all sound like fucking 3, you know? They were fine when I was 6, but now I'm getting older. They don't scare me anymore. They seem kind of silly. If you're going to tell me a story about the internet, can you make it really, really scary? I squinted at him incredulously. He folded his arms. Dad, I'm 10, and I can handle it. Okay, I'll try. I began. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Colby. His expression indicated that he wasn't impressed with the terror of the introduction.
You should be scared because his parents named him after a fucking piece of cheese.
He sighed. The piece of cheese was named after him. That's what you tell your kids. He sighed deeply and settled in for one of Dad's cheesy stories. So I continued. Colby went online and joined several children's websites. After a while, he started talking to other kids in-game and on the message boards. He made friends with another 10-year-old boy named Helper23. They liked the same video games and shows. They laughed at each other's jokes. They explored new games together. After several months of friendship, Colby gave Helper23 6 diamonds in a game they were playing. This was a very generous gift. Colby's birthday was coming up, and Helper23 wanted to send him a cool present in real life. No! Okay. Colby figured it wouldn't hurt to give Helper23 his home address, as long as he promised not to tell it to any strangers or grown-ups. Jesus, bad choices. Helper23 swore he wouldn't tell anyone else, not even his own parents, and set about mailing the package. Step 1.
Don't pick up the phone.
Wait, no, not step 1. Red flag number 1. Oh, there's a bunch of red flags. But, like, he's not going to tell his parents. His parents, if he's 10, his parents are the one mailing the fucking package. Red flag, man. I paused the story and asked my son, "Do you think that was a good idea?" "No," he said, shaking his head vigorously. In spite of myself, he was getting into the story. Well, neither did Colby. Colby felt guilty about giving away his home address, and his guilt began to grow and grow. By the time he put on his pajamas the next night, his guilt and fear were larger than anything else in his life. He resolved to admit the truth to his parents. The punishment would be steep, but it was worth it to have a clear conscience. He squirmed in his bed as he waited for his parents to tuck him in. My son knew the scary part was coming up. In spite of his tough talk, he leaned forward, wide-eyed. I spoke quietly and deliberately. He heard all the noises of the house. The washing machine bounced around in the laundry room. Branches scraped against the brick outside his room. His baby brother cooed in the nursery. And there were some other noises he couldn't quite.
Baby brother a fucking pigeon?
That's what people say when babies make sounds. They coo, okay?
I feel like babies in their cribs, if you're hearing them from the next room, are screaming bloody murder because they like haven't figured out how to relax their butthole and push at the same time, but whatever.
Finally, his dad's footsteps echoed down the hall. "Hey, Dad," he called out nervously. "I have something to tell you." His dad stuck his head in the doorway at a weird angle. In the darkness, his mouth didn't seem to move, and the eyes were all wrong. "Yes, son?" The voice was way off, too. "Are you okay, Dad?" the boy asked. "Uh-huh," sung the father in his strangely affected voice. Colby pulled his covers up defensively. Is Mom around?" "Here I am." Mom's head popped into the doorway below Dad's. Her voice was an unnatural falsetto. Were you about to tell us that you gave our home address to Helper 23? You shouldn't have done that. We told you never to give out our personal information on the internet. She continued, he wasn't really a kid. He just pretended to be one. Do you know what he did? He came to our house, broke in, and murdered both of us so he could spend some time with you. A fat man in a wet jacket emerged in the child's doorway, holding the 2 severed heads. Colby shrieked and gasped as the man dropped the heads on the ground, unsheathed his knife, and moved into the room to work on the boy. My son screamed too. He twisted his hands defensively over his face, but we were just getting started with the story. After several hours, the boy was almost dead, and his screams had become whimpers.
The fuck?
The killer noticed the wailing of a baby in another room and removed his knife. This was a special treat. He'd never murdered
What the fuck, dude?
Helper 23 left Colby to die and followed the cries. In the nursery, he walked to the crib, picked the baby up, and held it in his arms. He moved towards the changing table to get a better look, but as he held the baby, the crying died down. The baby looked up and smiled. Helper 23 had never held a baby, but he gently bounced it in his arms like a pro. He wiped his bloody hands on the blanket so he could stroke the baby's cheeks. Hey there, sweet little guy. The beautiful rage of sadism melted into something warmer and softer. He walked out of the nursery, took the baby home, named him William, and raised him as his very own. After I finished the story, my son was visibly shaken. Between ragged, staccato breaths, he stammered, "But Dad, my name's William." I gave him a classic dad wink and tousled his hair. "Of course it is, son." William ran up the stairs to his bedroom in a fury of sobs, but deep down, I think he liked the story. That's so fucked up. That's a good story,
If
though.
he's not the killer, that's hilarious that he did that. But it's also super evil because that is just a really dark story.
Yep. So everybody got murdered except the kid.
Let that be a lesson to kids that tell their parents that they're grown-ups or that they're old enough to handle it. Because it's like you kind of got to prove them wrong. But
Yeah.
Solid story, Robin. I like how we had all these wholesome ones and we end on this one that's kind of fucked up. But either way, good stuff.
Thanks.
All right, so I want to thank everyone who listened to this episode of Pastatime or watched this live. We do record Pastatimes and Storytimes live every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you ever want to join us, just go to twitch.tv/scarishpodcast or youtube.com/scarish. We would love to have you for a live episode. There's a lot of stuff that hits the cutting room floor. Mainly it's between each story. We just sit back, chill out, and talk with everyone that's watching. It's a good time. So please feel free to join us. If you would like to contribute by sending us a creepypasta you have written or a suggestion, please email pastatime@scarish.com or go to our website, scarish.com. Click on Contact Us. You can fill out that form and it'll come directly to us, or hit us up on our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod and Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $8. We also have like physical merch tiers. And it's actually funny because I just posted on our Instagram today. I put into production the new charms that are going to be for the summer, I believe. And those are going to be so cute. I'm very excited for the summer designs. Other than that, you can also go to ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's everything we have for this episode of Pastatime. So do your thing, Robin, and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.